Recorded here is the last testimony of Bern Richter, Imperial citizen, refugee, formerly of the frontier township Ebbswitch. The attack had been swift. We never stood a chance. I still remember the sounds of the gates buckling and the terrible, unceasing chant as they broke through. After that, chaos. I must have been thrown when the watchtower collapsed, knocked senseless by falling timbers. When I awoke, the battle was over, and Ebbswitch destroyed. I do not know how long I lay in the wreckage. Hours, days. The fires had long burned low by the time I clawed my way free. The air reeked of charred wood, and the groans of the dying still echoed around me. Twisted shapes hung from broken rafters and shattered walls, the remains of my neighbours, my comrades. I thought I was the last. I took shelter in a small hollow beneath a splintered beam. My heart was frozen with fear. I could not move further. The town had been overrun, and from the few survivors I glimpsed, bleeding slowly upon the invaders' cruel wheels and stakes, I knew escape was impossible. For 3 days I waited, watching as the dark energies they summoned from my fellow suffering filled them up, remaking their bodies into forms I cannot bear to describe. But at sunset, on the 4th day, something different broke the silence. The unmistakable rhythm of marching. I thought it a fevered delusion, but the sound grew louder, closer. It was then that I saw them. Through the shattered gates they came, towering figures clad in armour so polished they seemed to glow in the fading light. At their fore, a row of immense shields gleamed. They moved with terrible purpose, their voices rising in an unbroken chant, a prayer to blessed Azari. The Penitent Crusade, come. I tell you, hope stirred in my chest as I saw them. I crawled from my hiding place to witness the battle. The Crusaders fell upon the invaders with fury unmatched. Those cultists who had cut through my fellow militiamen with such ease were felled like so much wheat. I watched as the crusade tore through them with terrifying speed. Spear tips flashing, hammers crushing, shields splintering bone. It was glorious. The invaders never stood a chance. By the time the sun dipped below the horizon, the square was silent but for the drip of blood from the fallen. I thought I was saved. Weak as I was, I rose, determined to offer thanks to my deliverers. But as I stumbled towards them through the twilight, something in their demeanour gave me pause. The Crusaders were not tending to the wounded or offering prayers for the dead. No, they had gathered round the corpses of the greatest of the fallen foes, their heads bowed as if in mourning. It was then that I saw what they were doing. Their helms were cast aside, revealing faces contorted in frenzy. They were tearing into the bodies with ravenous greed. Dark blood smeared their mouths, dripped from their hands. It was as if they had become possessed, driven mad by something unseen. And yet I knew it was not madness, not entirely. They were digging for something inside the flesh of the corrupted dead. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. One of them, a towering Bulwark, looked up from his grisly feast and locked eyes with me. In that moment I faltered. The eyes that stared back at me were black as pitch, bottomless, filled with the same corruption that they had come to purge. For a moment I confess that doubt overcame me. Was this truly the salvation I had prayed for? Yet no, it couldn't have been what it seemed. The Penitent Crusade are the Empire's greatest warriors, defenders of the faith. There must have been some purpose behind this ravening, some holy truth beyond my understanding. Could they have been taking the corruption up into themselves, drawing that foulness into their blessed bodies, sacrificing their purity to protect the rest of us? It must have been so. They're our holy defenders, aren't they? No, they have to be. Their sacrifice, their fury, all of it is for us. It is the will of Azari. By order of the presiding Azarian magistrate, Veil Dershio, the deliverer of this confession shall be sentenced to Huskdom at the earliest convenience of the nearest order surgeon. Should just cause be needed, let it be on grounds of cowardice and delusion. Further, this written testimony, heretical as it is, has been closed by writ of magisterial seal. It shall not be reopened until it is delivered to the archival library of the Sunlit Citadel, where it shall be stored with the rest of these spurious accounts, far from the eyes of the citizenry.